Blessings. Welcome to today's Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. Today we're in Mark chapter 1, Matthew chapter 4, and Luke chapter 4. And I hope you were able to get all these things read ahead of time and realize what a really interesting read today was. And there's a lot of good information that we're going to build on. We're going to build on some of the things we learned yesterday. We're going to build on them in the future, and we're going to see this story really develop. In Mark chapter 1, verses 16 through 20, Jesus is standing outside the city of Capernaum, and we've talked about Capernaum, talked about it's going to be really important, and it's already important. I mean, this is where Jesus calls Peter and Andrew brothers, and then he calls James and John brothers. All four of them are fishermen. These two sets of brothers, they seem to work together, be maybe part of the same fishing outfit, if you will. And then in verse 21, we see that after Jesus calls them, they all go into the city of Capernaum. And when the Sabbath came, Jesus went into the synagogue at Capernaum and began to teach. So here we have Jesus teaching in the synagogue in Capernaum. It's going to be big. There are several people that we can assume are in the audience, and this is spoiler alert. I don't care whatever you call it. I'm sure most of you have read the Bible at least once through, or if not, you know the story, so it's not really a spoiler alert, but this is what we're going to build on. So in this synagogue in Capernaum, Jairus is the synagogue ruler, and you've heard of Jairus before, and if you haven't, be patient. You will learn who Jairus is. Jairus is the synagogue ruler over the synagogue in Capernaum, so he's in the audience. There's also a person that we assume will be in the audience, and that is the centurion of great faith that we're going to learn about a little bit later. But I'll build the case for him when we get to it in the scripture. But just for now, assume that the centurion of great faith is in this audience watching Jesus teach. Verse 22, Jesus, it says, and I quote, he was teaching them as someone having authority. So the people in the audience see Jesus teach, and it's different. He teaches them not as a scribe or someone who's just reading from the scrolls. Jesus teaches like someone, when it says in authority, someone who actually has a lot of knowledge about this and is authoritative on the scripture. And we know that he is the Word. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and that was Jesus Christ. Verse 23 and 24, the audience sees this demon-possessed man stand up in the service and just make a big scene. Now, if this had happened in any church today, I guarantee everybody would be talking about it. Everybody would know what happened. Well, this demon-possessed man stands up and he calls Jesus the Holy One of God. Everybody there probably heard this and was just, first he's teaching as one with authority. Then this demon-possessed person gets up and claims he's the Holy One of God. And then after all that, Jesus heals him and casts the demon out. He proves that he has the authority over the demons. So there's a lot of authority talk while Jesus is teaching at this synagogue in Capernaum. All these are going to fit together. We're taking the little puzzle pieces and we're kind of crafting the outside, and then we're going to start filling in the inside. We got Capernaum, we got the synagogue, we got the people in the synagogue, we got Jesus' authority, and we're gathering all of our pieces. Chapter 1, verse 27, the people, and this is the people that are in the audience at the synagogue, the people were all so amazed that they asked each other, who is this? What is this? A new teaching? And with authority. He even gives orders to impure spirits, and they obey him. Jesus is recognized by everyone in the audience as a man who has authority, not just when he's reading the scripture, but authority over impure spirits. Verse 29, Peter and Andrew lived in Capernaum. We see in verse 30 that Peter's married because Jesus heals his mother-in-law. And they go to Peter's house sometime after Jesus teaches in the synagogue. And then in verse 33, the whole city gathers at the door of Peter. Now, again, we haven't been introduced to the centurion of great faith, but he was over a legion or a group of soldiers in the city of Capernaum, and his job was to keep the peace. So when the whole city gathers in one place, they would have had to have been there just in case a riot broke out, but they are there to keep the peace. So keep this in mind too. We're still not introduced to the centurion, but you can bet he's there. In verse 38, Jesus says he came to preach. That's why he's here. So they leave Capernaum, go to some other places, and start teaching. So we're going to move past Capernaum for a while. Then in verse 45, Jesus stayed out of the cities, much like John the Baptist did. And Jesus stayed out because there just wasn't enough room. He went out into wide open spaces where lots of people could come hear him speak. And we know this is the case when he feeds 5,000 men, not including women and children. He feeds 4,000 men, not including women and children. So this is what Jesus is doing. He's going out into these wide open spaces so more people can hear his teaching. Matthew and Luke had very similar accounts, so I just stuck with this one out of Mark today. I really, really liked it. It gives a little bit more detail about Capernaum, and it's going to help. It builds kind of the foundation, if you will, or the outer edge of our puzzle as we start piecing all this stuff together and we see this beautiful story emerge. Tomorrow we're going to be in Matthew chapter 9, verses 1 through 17. Mark chapter 2 verses 1 through 22, and Luke chapter 5 verses 17 through 39. So read ahead, come back here tomorrow, and let's see what we can find. In the meantime, you guys be safe.